Okay, so this is a video tutorial on how to use the fluctuations area on foot trading. So whether you're on console or you're on PC, you head over to the fluctuations page and you'll be prompted with this page firstly, okay? So first things first, before I explain anything, I recommend that you do read the instructions and I recommend that you read the basic things to note, as this will cover a lot of details that I may not explain within the video, okay? Once you've done all that, you'll see there is multiple areas. You'll have tables at the bottom of the page and you'll have a premium fluctuations and a quick flip fluctuations, okay? Within this video tutorial, I'll be explaining how to use the base page, which is the fluctuations console, and I'll be explaining how to use the premium fluctuations console. For the quick flips page, I'll make a separate video which will be attached to that page as its own video guide because it's a different style of trading. So for this page, as it says at the top, the document updates every 10 minutes and follows the UK time zone. So you can see right in here, the last update was at 002, which means at 12 minutes past roughly, it will update it again if you refresh the page, okay? You can see the time right now is 15, so if I refresh the page, the update will change, okay? Again, sometimes it can take around a minute after it's due to update before the page will update the data, okay? So sometimes you have to refresh a couple of times before the timestamp will update. Now you can see we're on the latest data. So every update, it will update the current prices, and obviously the high points and low points will update based on each hour, okay? Because it's based off hours for these values. Now, first things first, before I go further into this, many cards will not display on the fluctuations page because there's filtering systems in place based on the movement percentage of the card, alright? Now the movement percentage is a percentage value of how much the card moves from the low to the high point in 24 hours. There is also an extra hidden filtering system in place. That means that if it doesn't move more than 5% in 12 hours, it won't display either, okay? You can see every card on here currently moves at least 5%, which doesn't mean they're profitable, but it means that they're moving at least tax per day within that 24-hour period of time. Whenever a certain card that isn't showing on the page starts to fluctuate more than 5%, the card will start to appear on the page automatically as well. So if you look up, for example, Doku, you can see that he doesn't show up right now. He has an RTTK, but he's not visible right now because he's not moving more than 5% in real time as of the time recording the video. Now there is a lot of important factors you need to learn with these areas, okay? And you can see first things first on here, under the versions, some of them have a bracket, volatile bracket, okay? All this means is that these cards are more volatile to trade with than others, okay? Now if you aren't an advanced trader, you probably want to avoid cards with volatile in them unless you start to grasp what you're doing, because trading with gold cards can be a lot more difficult than trading with icons, for example. Now the reason that is because gold cards get packed a lot. They packed 24/7, and there's only certain days where these cards will be stable or likely to trend upwards more than down. They typically always go on a downtrend. They do still fluctuate, as you can see, 34,750 low point, and it highs at around 36.5, right? Which isn't really profit, but like for the point, you can see it does move, but there's no guarantees this card would fluctuate towards the high point 12 hours, 24, depending on the time you're looking at it. Now to understand this a little bit better, when you can actually trade with gold cards and feel a bit more confident about it, if you head over to the Discord server and you go to trading chat and you click on the pinned icon at the top, pinned messages, you'll see this message pinned on the 18th of October, and I wrote out a schedule of when the market's active and when it's going to be slower, and what days are good to buy and invest, etc, etc, okay? The current day of recording this is on a Tuesday, which is the worst day for trading as of the current schedule of EA. But I'm still explaining this video, and I'll explain how to do fluctuations using it right now, okay? But just read this if you want to understand, because you'll understand on Sundays, it's a great day for flipping patiently or quickly, or alternatively investing and holding into Monday afternoon or Tuesday, subject to if content is due for the following day. Now when it tells you about investing, that kind of tells you that we're anticipating the market to rise on Sunday into Monday, Tuesday, subject to the content. When you know that is the case, so for example Sunday, that means that if the market's due to rise, that means if you're trading with golds on a Sunday, the odds are you won't really get caught in any trouble, because the expectation is they'll typically trend upwards on Monday and Tuesday. That's how it currently goes as of right now. So then if you wanted to trade there, that's where you could start trying to trade with golds, alright? But if you look on other days such as Fridays, it's a great day for quick flipping. There's no mention of investing. And the reason that is because quick flipping, if you trade with gold cards on a Friday, it's when like brand new promo teams tend to come out on Fridays. There's a lot of promo packs that go into the store, and that means that there's constant pack supply for golds, and that typically means they are less likely to achieve them high points again over like large periods of time, like 12 hours for a high point. It's unlikely they would fluctuate back to that high unless they're SBC fodder, such as a 90 rated, which is highly used in SBCs. Just something to bear in mind. For the purpose of the explanation with the video, I will be referencing icons, heroes, special cards that aren't in packs, all of this type of stuff. I won't really sway into golds too much because again, it's a lot more complicated. But as you get the hang of this, then you can start trying to trade with this more advanced stuff, okay? Or you can just trade on the certain days such as Sunday, knowing that they're going to typically trend upwards regardless, alright? Now if you wanted to, there's a show and hide columns, so you can take away stuff. By default, your page will look like this when you first load onto it. Now I like to take away the price group because I do not feel you do not need to have this one visible, okay, at any time. And you don't need to have the 6 hour average. You can change this to what you want, but these are the two that I personally take away, alright? Now with the price group, you can see if you go onto the exclude tab, you can take out versions, okay? So like we don't want to trade with golds today, you can click on the button there to get rid of it, and then it won't display golds. And now you only have all the ones that maybe you want to trade with in real time, okay? If you scroll further down, you can see you can exclude price groups. So if you wanted to remove the cheaper cards from this, if you were to remove the under 50Ks, you can see by doing that, all the cards on here become more expensive because it hides all the cards that are under 50k roughly. So it's a good way to exclude the rubbish cards if you don't want to trade with cheap cards, alright? But for the purpose of this, I'll keep all price ranges on. Just take away golds because you don't want to trade with golds. So basically, when you come onto this page on every update, you have a bunch of columns here. And again, you can remove some if you want to. But again, I like to keep it like this. Now with this, you press the percentage from low point, and by pressing this button, it will sort it high to low, and you press it again, it will sort it low to high, okay? Now if you look at the high to low, you can see it's 32% from the low point, alright? Now this is an unnatural card that's probably inflated due to a coin shop, and that's why he's currently 96,000. Either that, or something comes out that links to him, causing him to get rash invested into. You don't buy at these prices, obviously. The goal here is to buy at the low and sell at the high, subject to if the card will make you profit from the low to the high, okay? So again, obviously when you're trading with this page, you'll want to sort it low to high, but by default it will be doing that. And you'll go through the cards in the minus percentages, and you'll be looking for cards that are profitable from the low to the high, okay? So you can see with this, we typically aim for the 6 to the 12 hour high point values, okay? The only days you'll aim for the high point 24 hours are on days such as Sundays and possibly Thursday morning into Friday, okay? Again, reference this because it will explain to you when you should be quick flipping, and that's when you should be trading with 6 to 12 hour high points, okay? Maybe even 3 hour high points, but most of the time you can aim for between the 6 and the 12 hour high point, and it will typically achieve them values. There is a lot of things you need to consider, and it can be a little bit overwhelming, such as content for the day. So today's content, we're recording 6 hours after the content's arrived, which means that the market's stable a little bit now compared to where it was, okay? But if you look at the content from today by going to say Easy SBC or Footwiz, and you go to the SBCs tab, if they have it on here, yep, click on the button, so you can see we're on here already, I didn't realise. You can see that today's SBCs we received was Bradley Barcola, Crystal Dunn, and an 80 times 5 upgrade. So the things you need to be looking out for here are the new player SBCs you might receive, okay? And it depends on the upvote to the downvote ratio a lot of the time, whether that card will affect that position on the market, okay? So you can see that Barcola is heavily downvoted, which kind of tells you that this card isn't really going to affect the left wing position. You can see it's a left wing card. and it's got heavily downvoted, so you know this card's likely not going to be completed a lot. Whereas Crystal Dun has a 72% upvote and a 28% downvote, meaning that a lot of people do like this card. It's a little bit pricey, you kind of gauge this when you look at it, but you can see that it's quite an upvoted card, meaning a lot of people might do this SBC. So what that means, if they do this SBC, that position may become volatile from fluctuating back to the full high points, okay? So for example, she's a center mid. So that means that today's content might affect center mids and they may not fully fluctuate back to their high points. So if you look here, you can see Gattuso right now. This is a center mid or a CDM. We just head over to the page for Footwiz for it. You can see he's a CDM, so he's a center mid as well. And we've got a Crystal Dun today that's highly upvoted. You can see this card typically fluctuates from a low point of 171 towards 180 to 199, right? Now you cannot anticipate this card to fluctuate fully back to the high point because we got an SBC today for Crystal Dun that is highly upvoted, and this may be the cause as to why this card fully won't fluctuate back. It's not always guaranteed that will be the case. However, you do need to consider these factors when trading with that position for the content day. Now, if you wait about 6 hours after content, so again, it's been 6 hours since the content came out, these cards should typically start settling down now, right? So basically, you can see the high point in 6 hours is 180. So this is more likely to be the price it will fluctuate to as a high point. Maybe 185. Obviously, selling at 180 to 185 and buying at the low point wouldn't make you money, right? But typically, as a rule of thumb, if you don't trade with the center mid spot, because today that was the only thing that came out, you do also need to check evolutions as well. I know this is quite a lot of information, but you need to make sure there's no new evos as well, because if you get a brand new evolution that's heavily upvoted and it's for, say, a striker that's free to do, then that means that strikers for the day may be volatile from fluctuating back to their high points. They may need to correct in value as the demand reduces. Again, this takes a little bit of practice, but you will get the hang of it as you do this, okay? So the two main things you need to look out for are SBCs and evolutions to make sure nothing for the current day you trade at content has come out that can affect the position that you're trading with for them cards. When it comes to gold cards, you need to look at the store a lot of the time. So if you look at FIFA in-game on the store, if we head over to the game really quickly, and you head over to the store, this is another thing you do need to check out every day. You can look at Foot Scoreboard if you download their app. They all tend to post the latest packs that have been added to the game. But you can see here, today's promo packs we received. Again, if you have the Scoreboard app, you'll know this. The two packs that came out today again was the Prime Gold Player Pack and the Premium Gold Player Pack. Now notice that these packs are tradable, which means that this equals gold supply mostly, okay? When you get bigger packs, these ones aren't very good packs. They don't really tend to affect the market too much, these two. But when you get packs such as the Rare Player Pack, this came out yesterday. It's a 2-day expiry, so it still has a day left before it comes out again. So you kind of know for the next 17 hours, the gold card market might be okay. However, tomorrow this this pack will come back into the game, and that will mean that gold cards are very likely to drop in value as people can then rebuy this pack when it refreshes, okay? So you do need to consider what packs come into the store as well. Even with the big packs such as these promo ones, if let's say a pack comes out that includes icons or a hero, this can affect the heroes from fluctuating back to their high points, okay? So you do need to be checking all these things. It's a lot of things, but this is how FIFA is these days, okay? But regarding the fluctuations page, now I've covered all the basic stuff about what to look out for. Again, if you want a simpler way to do this, if you go to the Discord, just to keep up with the content every day, we've made the channel in the Discord called Daily Content under the Notifications tab. And you can see it will ping all the brand new stuff that happens on the day, okay? So today we got an objective for an 84 times 2 of all this stuff. We also got a new SBC for an 80 times 5. The Crystal Dun that we've already spoke about. Again, this is the reason it's got high upvotes on Easy SBC as we checked. This means that center mids might be a little bit volatile. And we also got a Bradley Barcola that's heavily downvoted, meaning that it probably won't affect the left wing position because not a lot of people like the SBC, meaning they're not going to do it. But when a lot of people do an SBC such as Dun, This means that people won't need a center mid, reducing the demand to the center mid spot, if that makes any sense. So again, if you want to make it simpler, just check out the daily content tab every day and just see what happened for the day to see what to look out for, okay? Again, this will also ping new promo packs. It will tell you when new promo packs come in the game. You can see it. New store packs came here as well, but that was the day before. So now you know all the basic stuff. You go onto the fluctuations page. And again, we'll refresh the page because we're on a new update again. It's been another 10 minutes. You do want to try to be here on the updates because again, we're 7 minutes late, meaning that obviously the current prices will have likely sold by the time you go onto it. It doesn't matter if you're not here right on the update, but it's good to just regularly be refreshing the page to ensure you're on the latest data, okay? And every update you can see the new cards will go to the top, alright? So if we look at this Luis Diaz example, so if you look at this, I'll make it simpler by taking away the other cards. Now you can see with this card, the low point of the card is 255. The high point in 6 hours to 12 hours is 267 to 271. As I said, due to the day of the week, it's a quick flipping day mostly. It's quite a quiet day as well, but it's a quick flipping day. So the high point, the sell price you'd be aiming for is between 267 and 271, okay? So again, to check this, go to the sold prices, clicking on that button there, and you just want to check between these two values, how regularly is it selling between 267 and 271, okay? So you're looking between all these values, and you're seeing how regularly does it sell between them two values, okay? So there's 266, 266, 266, 267, 267, 267, 268, 268, 268. So you know it's regularly selling at 267, 268, okay? So you know if your target sell between 267 and 271, it's likely to sell if you were to list it, okay? Because it's a fluctuation towards the high point of 6 to 12 hours. So let's say we worked out our sell price here to be 269, which is in between these two values. If you were to buy at 255, you're not going to make money on the card, right? You're going to lose maybe a little bit, but you wouldn't make money, okay? Now, a lot of users make this error where they just assume you can buy at the low point, okay? You'd actually make 500 coins, but obviously that's horrible for how much the card costs, and you're not allowing any room for the card to fail to fluctuate back to the high point, okay? So in this example, you'd probably want to aim to get this card for about 245, I'd say. Because of the price of the card, you'd want to get about 5% profit roughly, okay? So I'd say about 245 is a good way to work with it. If you were to obtain this card for 245 and sell it for 269, you'd make 10,500 coins. I'll zoom in a little bit so you can see. Again, maybe you'd aim for 246, 247, but if you leave the profit margin too tight, if the card fails to fluctuate back to the high point of 6 to 12 hours, because they're not always going to do this, okay? Some do fail, but a lot will end up working. You're allowing 8,500 coins to reduce if you need to. So say you list a card for 269 for say 6 hours and it doesn't sell, you may have to lower your price down to go to another fluctuation. Say that one didn't work out. If you were to buy it for 252, let's say, to make say 3,000 coins, you can only reduce your price to 266 before you start losing coins, right? And if the card doesn't fully fluctuate, that might not be enough before you start having to reduce even further and lose coins. Which is why it's really important when you work out your buy-in price, you do ensure you leave enough room with the cards to reduce if it fails to sell, okay? So what you would do in this scenario is you would go into game, because you can see right here before I do that, you can see the current price was 250, he's at 255. You would go into game and you just check the card and see if he's at his low point still, okay? Because I'm taking time to explain this, it's likely the card did sell at 250 or 255 because people will naturally buy the card who aren't trading. You can see right now he's on the market for 255, so he's actually dropping in value right now. So this is an example where you may be able to get a fluctuation on the card, right? You can see he's at 250 and we said right now 245 would be a good buy price for the card. So you know that he's still low right now. So what you can go and do is you can go onto the card like this and set it to 250 where its lowest spin is, and you can compare price like this and back out, or you can try to get him on bid for under 245, right? So you could sit here like this and try to snipe the undercut if one pops up. However you want to snipe, obviously, but you have to be patient on the card. But when a card is pointing you in the direction of being low, that's when obviously you want to try to pick up the undercut, because obviously it's getting cheap to where you can make some profit, right? A lot of people make this often mistake of coming straight onto the page and assuming that the low point is a buy price, okay? Which sometimes it can be a buy price at the low point if the high point in between 6 to 12 hours is enough profit, okay? But like we said in this example, to make this have a big enough gap with the fluctuation, you would need to obtain it for about 245. So there's 248 now. You just keep refreshing until the undercut pops up, right? So this will be somebody using the website right now that knows how to use it, that maybe knows what they're doing a bit more, or it could be just a natural buyer on the game, right? It doesn't have to be a website sub that bought that card, right? But you can see you can win them via bidding, or you can try to snipe one for say 245. Maybe you feel 248. If you're confident with trading and you feel you can attain that price easily, maybe you would buy at 248 because you know that you can sell it for 269 quite easily, right? You have to basically sit here like this, compare pricing on the card and seeing if an undercut pops up. Let's say there was none on the market, you'd go to a brand new card that's towards its low point though, obviously. Because not every card will be there for the current prices, they do sell in real time. But you would just sit here like this, trying to win an undercut basically. We will try to get this for 245 as well in 1 minute. Now I know these videos are quite long, but I do like to go into large detail with the explanations so you guys do understand what you're doing. And I'd like to pick one up uncut so you guys can see this generally does work in real time, right? So whilst we wait for this card to get towards expiring, we'll just continue to compare price for a couple of minutes, or for a minute, until that card obviously is ready to get bid on. Again, just take practice with doing this and you'll get the hang of it pretty quickly as you obviously do this, right? But it really is quite simple. Like a lot of the time you just aim for the 6 to 12 hour high point and you work out your buy price that will be profitable and allow enough room to move. Like if you need to undercut in the future, you'll have enough room with it, okay? You can see that other card's got 30 seconds left, so we'll just check that card now. We will be trying to obtain this card for under 245, right? Because we worked that out to be a decent buy price right now. So we can put a bid on for 242 and see if we can obtain the card, right? On some days this will be a lot more difficult to do, but typically just like once you practice doing this and you understand the days of the market where it's most active, that's when you'll have the most success, right? You see we got outbid. Again, we could just stretch to 245 and bid the maximum we're willing to pay. Obviously try to get them as cheap as possible, but I'll just bid 245 to see if we can get lucky, right? You can see they've just sold there as well at 250. So when the card starts to go back up, it will mean that it's less likely to pop up for the price you want, right? All that means is just go to another card, right? Don't just sit on, like I've looked at Luis Diaz, I'd go between card to card from the fluctuation page, right? So he's going above the price I'm willing to pay. So I won't keep overpaying for the card. Maybe I could bid 247. But you need to be quite strict with yourself when you're doing this, right? You want to make as much money as possible. So I'm not going to force a buy with the card, right? Because I know the day of the week and it is quite volatile. But you could sit here like this just trying to get the undercut. Or you can go to another card and add it to the watch list and check back on it regularly, okay? So you can see we accumulate a watch list of cards by doing this, right? You see it did sell for 246. It could be somebody trading on the website that's trying it for that profit, right? They still got it at a great price because if they get 269 for the card, if you work it out right now, we worked it out to between 267 and 271. Say we aim for 269. They got it at 246. If you go onto here and write them prices in, they're going to make 9,500 if it successfully fluctuates, right? If it doesn't successfully fluctuate, they have the option to reduce by 9,000 coins if they need to, right? They can sell as cheap as 260 if the card failed to fluctuate. But the key of all this, they can sell as cheap as 259, right? So you see how simple this really is once you start learning how to work out your buys and sells properly, right? The rule of thumb is you should be making 5% profit on the card roughly. So on a 250k card, you really should be making about 10,000 on the card, okay? After EA tax. But again, just consistently go through the list of players and try to find new undercuts, right? So again, if we refresh the page, you can see it will update again. And we'll have brand new cards at the top to go through, right? So Marquez is low right now. So again, looking at this quickly, the high point between 6 hours and 12 hours is 149 to 156. So if we worked our sell price to be about 152, 153, we just go and check the sold prices really quickly to make sure it sells between 152 to 153 regularly. So on these values here, we're just looking to see, does it sell at 152, 153 on a frequent occurrence, okay? There's one for 152, 151, 150, 150, 150. So we're seeing a lot of 150s, okay? 152, 152. So the realistic sell price is between 150 and 152 between the 6 and the 12 hour high, right? You see, it doesn't quite get to the full 12 hour high based on the sales, but it does sell above the 6 hour, okay? So if we say we're going to sell for 152 here, and the card's low point is 145, you couldn't buy at the low point to make money, right? You'd actually lose like 500 coins, I'm pretty sure. However, if you were to buy for 140, you'd make about 5,000, right? 4,400. So you'd go into game on this card and check if that was there. Now, like I said, stuff does sell quickly too. Just double checking Diaz didn't get undercut. Just check if he's there for 140. You can see it already sold. He's already going back up. So it could have been an undercut that foot was detected, right? But you can see right now this card's more towards his high than his low again. There's a bid as well, so you can try bidding on cards. Trying to get them at their low points. Like 140 would be a good buy price, okay? Like in this instance, you buy it for 140 and you sell it for 152. Maybe 153. So the profit you're leaving is a little bit tight, but 4,000, 5,000 coins on this card is about 5% roughly, okay? Might be about 4%, but it's enough money to make it a good buy. And it leaves you enough room to work down if you have to, right? So you can try sniping to get the undercuts or bidding. If the card's already back towards his high though, I wouldn't sit here like this trying to get an undercut because you're asking for a massive undercut, right? You're looking for the cards that are at their low points and they're low in game still. A lot of the time, the website can pick up big undercuts that maybe have instantly sold, okay? Because FootWiz do pick up massive undercuts. If that happens, just move to another card or check the bids to see if any bids are popping, right? You see there's 2 on bid, so if we wait a minute, we'll try to get this one, okay? If we don't get it, we'll move to the premium fluctuation page and explain the difference between that page as well, okay? But hopefully this is making sense of like how this all works, right? Whatever you trade with fluctuations as well, you do want to try to sell it before the next day's content, because if you get something tomorrow at 6 PM UK time, such as a brand new centre back SBC, that can affect the card that you were previously trading with from moving back to a high point again, right? So basically when you buy fluctuations, a lot of the time you're trying to flip them between 6 to 12 hours maximum, right? If they fail to sell in the 6 to 12 hours, you'd want to move towards another, you'd want to offload the card for break even roughly, or for smaller profit. Like I said, not every card does fluctuate properly, right? So we'll put a 140 bid on it. We didn't get there in time. But you would try to win the card for 140, let's say, okay? Obviously right now the card had gone up already. So he's back at his high. So you'd move to a new player, right? Hopefully that concept makes sense of how to do it, right? Again, today is a very dead day for trading, so it can be hard to get deals. You can see they went, like, if we were to win it for 140, it'd be a great price, right? And you can attain a lot of cards like this, like Beasley again. But working out the sell price is what a lot of people struggle with, and I feel like I've explained it quite well there, okay? Now with the premium fluctuation page, the difference between this page and the base page is this page is filtered out to show you cards that move larger amounts in real time, okay? So you're going to see the low point here of 49, the high point of 54. You can see the card moves a lot more than a standard card on the other page, which means a lot of the time, if you buy at the low points off this page, you'll typically be buying at a good price as it is, okay? But you do need to always check, alright? So if we look at this page in real time, today we got a Barcola SBC, which is why Barcola is down, okay? And there's also another reason behind this as well. PSG also played today in the UCL, which is why these cards have a volatile warning, because these are live cards, right? That's why they have that warning. Because they drew their game or they lost the game, I don't quite remember. This is why this card will be on a decline right now, okay? So it's not really a card I'd be looking to trade with unless it's a day when there's not actual matches that can affect the card's performance, okay? So you go through the list of players, for example, George S. Again, this one 267 low, and it goes up to 287 to 294, right? So it's the same rule of thumb with this. You still check the sold prices. Again, the values are 287 to 294, okay? Between 6 and 12 hours. So you're going to sell between 287 and 294. Let's say between that at 290 will be a sell price, okay? Check how many times it sells at 290. So there's a 290, 290. Not a whole lot of 290s, right? Just a couple. 290, 289, 288, 287, 290. So it does sell at the high point too, but it's not as often. So maybe you want to aim for just 6, okay? Or you could try 290, right? So if you set your sell price at 290 and you were to buy at the low point, which is 267 from the premium page, you see here low point 267, you would make yourself about 8,500, okay? Which is quite a good profit for the card, right? It's not quite 5%, but there's still quite a good profit gap between the low and the high on the card. This is the difference between the premium page. It filters out a lot more stuff that moves actively. You'll see a lot more cards are missing from this page compared to the base page there, because it's extremely filtered out to show the better movers and the ones that are a bit more profitable just by looking at the lows to the highs, right? So in this situation, you'd buy for 267 or less and sell for 290 roughly, okay? Now I wouldn't go put all my eggs in one basket and buy 5 of them, okay? But if you were to buy a couple of that card, you would try to list them for 290, 291, 292, right? So again, that card was Laura Georges. So we'll just check in game. There's no guarantee that the card will be there. You need to check every update. You can see she's at 275 right now, and we've worked out our target buy to be 267, okay? So you just sit here like this, compare price going back, and try to see if an undercut pops up. Alternatively, check bids as well, because you see there's bids here. You might be able to get them like this if you add them to your watch list. But often you just sit here like this and compare price, right? Now what you'll also notice, right, as we go through players and players, we're starting to watch cards that are at their low points roughly. We could have actually got that for 140 if we'd have bid, right? Which would have been a good deal. No one even bid on the card and that was the low point. That's why you need to pay attention to bidding too, right? Because that would have been a perfect buy and sell it for 152, 153 roughly. But now that you see you've got a couple of cards starting to accumulate that are near their low points here, right? We know this sold for the low point. We know this sold for the low point. And we know this is getting towards its low point. It's not quite at the low point. What you can start to do is compare pricing on the cards and just go in towards the 59th minute and check in bids as well. But you can basically look for undercuts like this, right? And see if any are there for the 245. Right now there isn't. I go through Marquez and check if any are there for 140. You can see there isn't, but this is something else you can do when you're accumulating a watch list of cards, right? Just to see if any undercuts pop up without having to go back onto that player individually. So there's many ways of getting the fluctuation deal, whether it's bidding, sniping an undercut, or just compare pricing on a card that you previously added to your transfer targets, alright? That's basically how the fluctuations page works though, okay? I won't buy a card for this situation unless I find one in the next minute or two. We'll try one more because the website would have updated again really quick. No, it wouldn't. I'm on the 42 update, my mistake. I don't quite think there's anything on this update to be able to look at, right? But you don't need to just look at cards that are at their low point as well, okay? You can see on the premium fluctuations, a lot of it is towards the high point. It's quite far away from the low point, right? You can still check them in game because a lot of the time, look at Nesta for example at 338. It might have been undercut if you go look in game. You don't need to wait for the update to see if it's getting low again, right? But you're typically looking for the cards that are already towards their low or getting close to their low, because they're the cards where you're going to get the deals on, right? You can see this one's at 325 in game, so it's been an undercut since the update. So now suddenly this card is getting towards the low point of 313, I think it was. Yeah, the low point is 313 on the card. The high point is about 343. About 340, 343 roughly. Between 335 and 343. You can see it's been holding 343 well for 6 to 12 hours, okay? So he's at 325 right now. Now we know this card's only 12,000 coins off the low point now, so we could technically sit here like this and try to snipe an undercut until this card sells, right? When the card sells and it goes back to 340, obviously we then will go to another player again, right? But you can also add it to your watch list. It's already sold, so there's likely there's not going to be an undercut, okay? When that card's there, you could sit here like this, trying to snipe an undercut, right? Or you could add it to your transfer targets. It's already sold. And then just do what we were doing with the other cards, where you compare price on them and try to get the undercut like this, right? Because you'll remember that the card was low because you added it to your watch list. And just looking for the undercut, basically. This is really how Fluctuations is. It just takes a little practice, and it is down to the times of the day where you're trying to do this, right? Now the best time of the day to do this typically is overnight, UK time overnight, or US time about 6 PM, 7 PM. They're the best hours to do it, but you can do this at any time of the day. Just you need to be wary when you're trading before content. Let's say you're trading at 3 PM UK time and content comes out in 3 hours because it comes out at 6 PM UK time. You'll kind of only have 3 hours where the card is safe from any reason to drop, okay? Because at 6 PM something can come out and it can drop the card's price, alright? That's why you need to be a little bit careful trading before content and try to trade more after content, unless you're quite an advanced trader or you're following the leaks in the game via the Twitter channels that I don't tend to do, but some of you guys might do this, right? So if you're aware of the content that's going to come out, maybe you'll know to trade in them cards because you know nothing's coming out to affect the card, right? But if you're not following leaks and stuff, then just try to trade after content, okay? But that's basically the concept, right? We showed you 2 deals right there. I could have technically bought this card and I'd made money on it. This would have been a perfect buy at 140. I just forgot to bid, okay? And this card we were looking for 245. Maybe we could have paid 247 because it still would have been about 8,000 profit and I'd have 8,000 to work with. But that's basically how this method works with the fluctuation page, okay? If you have any further questions regarding it, if you join the Discord server, you connect your Discord to your foot trading account, you'll be able to see the website subscriber areas. You can ask questions via subscriber chat and tier 2 help, and somebody will reply to you as soon as they can, okay?